From here on out, every foul is flagrant, boy. Let's go. What's up? Came in a chokehold, more balls than Esco. All right, maybe
you are now tuned into the chat room, your favorite baller's favorite podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Chatroom Podcast. I am the Senator, and this is episode 6 of season 3. And with me today, I got Coach.
Hey, dude, y'all, what's going on?
Got Dwayne.
Going on.
And with us right now, we got a very busy man that was able to take some time out of his busy schedule to join us. And we're going to get into a lot of his stories and how he ended up being the busy man that he is today. But we got Braeden Anderson with us.
Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you for sure. For sure.
Gentlemen, how you guys feeling today? How you guys doing?
Feeling good.
I'll say that the consensus word of the day for everyone is tired.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Long day.
Yeah. You got to earn that rest. You got to earn it, man.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah.
That's what's up. So I'm just gonna jump in. We're gonna go right into the check-in question, see what you guys are, what your answers will be. So y'all remember the And One, right? You remember the And One mixtapes? Everybody used to make sure they had to get them, get the newest ones, all that stuff. So who was some of the players that you wanted, if you could play with any of those players, who are some of the players that you wanted to play with?
Well, I'm like, the easiest answer for me is y'all like Hot Sauce was my guy. Hot Sauce was my guy. He used to do that thing where you put it over your head, put it in your shirt, spin around. He used to do all that stuff. And then he used to come down, dribble the ball, do a slip and slide. And he was my guy. Hot Sauce was definitely my guy. And then after Hot Sauce, it was AO. He made the league for a little bit. But yeah, those were definitely two of my guys I definitely watched a lot of. And one when it was on the VHS, definitely my guys.
Hot Sauce. Who is the Bones? Something.
Bone, yeah. Bone Collector.
Bone Collector.
Yeah.
Bone Collector. Yeah.
Bone Collector was my guy, man.
Yeah.
He just so swaggy with it, man.
Yeah. He was cool. Even y'all remember Escalade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Escalade. Yeah. He was
the big dude,
too,
right?
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was tough. Like the whole tape was tough. Like even Ray for Alston, Skip to My Lou. I used to come down and spin the ball and dance too. I used to do all that stuff in the court.
Yeah.
Who you got, Pepper?
No, for me, AO, he was my favorite and one guy.
AO, yeah.
That was my favorite. And obviously, and then from him, it was Skip. And I liked him even more when he came to play for Toronto.
That's what I was going to say. I thought you were going to say Skip for sure because he's a Raptor guy. I thought for sure you were going to say Skip.
I grew to like him when he came to our team, and then he was doing the moves in the game, calling travels. Like, you can't skip in an NBA game, man. It's a travel.
He's always do this stuff. He's dribble ball, and
you can't do that in the NBA. You can't do that.
Well, I mean, there was an era where like you can do all those animal stuff in the NBA, like with like Steve. I don't remember like early 2000s, man. You could do all that. Not like the,
but not with Skip.
Most of
the way he was doing.
Yeah, but like you can do like
traveling.
Dwayne Wade used to get away with some travels.
Yeah,
because it looked so good. Like
clean, it looked clean. Yeah,
Dwayne Wade's Euro was like it was, it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a Euro,
No, he took what Manu did, what Manu kind of started, and he like changed it. Like, yeah, he modified it, and like he kind of did what Giannis is doing right now.
Steps.
Yeah. He kind of did what Giannis is doing right now.
It was just a little, it was just
pre-step. It was a
little third step.
Yeah, it was he take the pre-step to set it up and 1, 2.
Yeah.
Senator, what about you?
For me, it'd be the professor. Also air up there.
Yeah, he was nice. He was the first one to do
Is
720,
that
right?
720?
The
Yeah,
720
yeah,
dunk.
yeah, yeah. Mr. 720?
And then you guys said the person before, Escalade. Those would be the three I had on my list.
Escalade. There's a pass Escalade used to always do that I used to try and do all the time, where he would dribble it and he would like put it behind his back and point this way.
Oh yeah.
That pass. I'm like, yo, that pass is so tough.
I think it's like the Pistol Pete pass.
I don't know what it was, but I'm like, yo, that pass is tough. I used to try and do it, and I couldn't do it. Like I do the pass, and the pass is fine. That was the easy part. It was like looking away and like getting the defender to look away too. That was the hard part. The pass was easy. Like that's easy stuff. But like it's just like the whole theatric behind it was the hard part for me.
True.
What do you guys think about Ball is Life? Like, what do you think about those guys? Because it's, the culture shifted a little bit. Like, I know some of the guys I used to play with, like Cesar Guerrero. He was my point guard at Fresno, and he was a big time. Like, just the way that he played, like he was that type of player. Like, if you liked N1, like he was that type of dude, and he really he played like that in games, like that's how he played. And it's cool he's found a spot. Like, he's playing in Mexico, leagues in Mexico, and I know he's been doing like showcases for Ball is Life. But what's the perspective on those cats?
I think like it's all the part that I like is that everything is kind of developing and progressing and improving and getting better, and it's changing with the time. Like Ball is Life is like our era and one, right? So it's just like, but it's more accessible now, so anybody can be a part of it. It's just it's fun to watch, but to me, like I kind of connected to like the whole like actually buying a CD back in the day when you had to actually go out and purchase a CD, and the feeling you got like getting that CD and putting it in the CD player and listening to it, like that whole it was a process. And the whole thing with like the and one mixtapes back in the day, like going out, getting that VHS, putting it in, and like playing it, and then like having the intro starting up where like you see Hot Sauce doing all this stuff, like all that stuff, like the whole process of that. That's what made the whole and one thing a vibe and a feeling, because it was like that. It was a feeling more than just like the basketball, right? So like I think it's this era's and one stuff, and like I'm cool with it, but it's not the same. So
right,
it's one of those kind of things where it's just growing, So I don't know.
It's just involved with the time, right? So that's pretty much all it is at this point right now. So they just made it more modern for like the Instagram and stuff like that. But it's good to see these players getting showcased the way how they do, because everyone runs to there, everyone reposts that stuff, and then it'll help their career when it comes to certain things, because then they might get the looks that people on and one may not have gotten the look, because maybe
they still do the freaking tapes. Do they still do the freaking and one tour? No,
they don't do it. No, they're not.
It's
touring.
done, right?
It's finished. Yeah,
because like the last time I remember it being a thing was like when the professor was like on the tour. That's the last time I remember.
Like his own tours, like they do their own tours, but it's not an and one tour.
It's not and one affiliate. It's just them doing it.
Because like I remember like they used to like have like the and one guys play games against like local people.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
and one,
okay.
And one doesn't have a tour. It's just players on there has a tour.
Bone Collector still posts stuff. I've seen a lot from him.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've seen stuff with like the professor. Yeah,
it's them individually going around.
Yeah,
like Venice Beach and stuff.
All right, so like last question for the check-in is, who's one player that you wish you got the chance to see live? Like going to a game, knowing that you wanted to go to a game, see that player play live, and just never had the chance to actually do it. Who's one player that?
For me, it's always Michael Jordan.
I never got to see him play live. I never got to see Jordan play live, and I never got to see Braun. I haven't seen Braun play live yet. Those are two guys that I haven't seen play live. I've seen Kobe play live.
Me too. I was fortunate enough to see Kobe play live.
I saw Kobe, yeah.
Slapped the Raptors.
You didn't see the 81 game?
No,
it was another game. No, it wasn't. No, thank God I didn't see that game.
If you're at that game,
that would be a blessing, man. That's a blessing if you're at that game.
Crazy, yeah. If you're at that game, that's crazy. Like that game is one of those. That game and his 60-point game. If you're at one of those games, that's like one of those things where like you got to frame that ticket.
It's in history.
I was there, yeah. Like I was there in those games.
History.
For me, it's got to be Jordan, man, and like. I think it's got to be the same for a lot of us in like our age range who didn't get a chance to see Jordan live. But I was watching this. I can't remember who's hosting it. It might have been like Pardon My Take or something with
the interruption.
I think it was with with
our first take with Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, and no, it wasn't. I think it was Pardon the
Interruption is Mike Wilbon.
Pardon the Interruption. Yeah, with AI and Al Harrington, and they were talking about Michael Jordan and how like when they saw him play, it was like it didn't look real to them. Like and AI was like straight up saying like when I see Michael Jordan to this day, he doesn't look real to me. Yeah, like for real. And he's like, and I'm not like that about anybody. Like I'm not like you can call me whatever you want to call me, but like I'm not like that. But when it comes to MJ, like that dude doesn't lock real to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't hear people say that stuff about anybody else.
Let's go back to that story that Reggie Miller told on, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. And he said that he put up like 28 points and Jordan had 4 points. And at halftime, he was talking trash towards him. And then in the second half, Jordan finished with like 37 points and he finished with 30 points. And then Jordan went back to him and said, "Don't you ever trash talk Black Jesus."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like mine is Jordan. And also I'm upset that I've seen Steve Nash play, but I didn't get to see Steve Nash play when he was in Phoenix. And that was like the time that I was really trying to go to the game. So those would be two, because everyone knows Nash is my favorite player, but Phoenix.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, but Phoenix Nash was a different player. So I wanted to see him in those days, you know.
Yeah, I think with me, like, it's Jordan, but like even with that Braun thing, I make an effort to go to LA, go watch them play. So I'm gonna take that off my bucket list. But yeah, Jordan is a consensus answer.
Has to be.
Coach.
Yeah. All right. So Braeden, man, you ended up kind of getting your scholarship and going through your whole journey and all that stuff. But like, kind of take us through your journey. Like, when did you start playing ball? Like, what was that process like for you?
I mean, for me, the whole thing just feels like a movie to me, man. Like, not always a good movie, right?
Yeah.
But it all. When I look back now, it's easier because it's like, okay, there was a plan. There was something good coming later. But my I only exist because of basketball. So like my dad played for Team Nigeria in 1991, and the World Basketball Championships, the FIBA World Championships for U19 were in Edmonton, Alberta in 1991. And so him and Team Nigeria came over to Edmonton and competed, and things weren't great in Nigeria at the time. And so a bunch of them, I think 5 or 6 of them, decided to defect. They were like, we're just going to stay here. We're just, everybody went back on the plane and they're like, we're just going to hang out here. We're going to, find some white girls and like seriously, they were serious. They were not
They had a plan. They had a plan.
They were like, we're just gonna figure this out. you know,
Yeah.
and you know, he wasn't always around. You know, I have a decent relationship with him now. Obviously wish he was more present in my life. But he left me a basketball, you know, and that was what I had growing up, is my only kind of memory of him, and something that I kind of felt a lot of attachment to in terms of trying to figure out what my identity was. And, you know, I went through a lot, man. You know, not more than like, what's tough is our community has been through a lot.
Yeah.
And when I talk about our community, I'm talking about the Black community. I'm talking about especially the Black community in Canada, because we don't have a lot of support. There's not a lot of us. I always felt alone. I always felt isolated, especially in Alberta.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I say like things are tough, it's like I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like, I don't feel like a victim in the sense that I was the only one going through this kind of stuff. But like, my stepdad was abusive. I was homeless, in and out of the house starting at age 10. You know, like, I was working at Sobeys, you know, the grocery store. I was working at Safeway. I was working construction. I was doing like labor work for this dude who was laying concrete and stuff. Like, I was doing all sorts of stuff while trying to be in school, while trying to play basketball, because I had to support myself. I was trying to, you know, I was trying to pay my $200 a month or whatever I was paying my friends' parents to sleep on their couches. You know what I mean? Like, I know how that is, and it wasn't easy. And so, like, for me, I just saw basketball in that time for me as a way it was all I had. It was literally it was my whole future. It was everything. It was probably too much, right? And I know, but I know that feeling, and I think a lot of us feel that way about the game, because it gives us something, and it does take us like a vehicle. It has the power to take anybody. I don't care where you're at in life, right? And it's something that it's amazing in that way, because there's a lot of people right now who are talking, especially in light of the Alston, the Supreme Court case, and the talk about athletes getting paid. We'll talk about, you know, you got to focus on school, and you got to, and like, I will be the first to tell you that school is tremendously important, but you can't lose sight of the origin of that opportunity. I went to college because of basketball, period. I would not have had that opportunity to go to college if it wasn't for the game of basketball. And so I think it's something for everybody to know. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. Basketball is one of those things. If you pick that ball up and you put the work in, you can create opportunities that were not there. Like, you can create an opportunity, right? And so for me, you know, the story starts with just, you know, I was getting kicked off of teams. I was just trying to figure it out. And, you know, John Hegwood and everybody, they'll tell you I was struggling. It was hard. I had a hard life, and people knew that, man, I hope Braeden he might come to practice. I don't know. I didn't come to practice that often. Maybe I come to the game. Hopefully I was on time for the game, right? Like, I had things going on, you know?
Yeah.
But I was going to ball out when I got in there, because I needed it, you know, but I might have taken 3 buses and hitchhiked to get to the game. But, you know, for me, it was one opportunity. I went down to North Carolina when I was 14 years old. There was a lot of other good players there, Andrew Wiggins being one of them. And, you know, but it was hard. There was 15 of us in a 4-bedroom apartment, and we were scrapping for food. Like, it didn't get easier then, too, right? Like, that's a great opportunity. Ro Russell, you know, you get down there with Andrew Wiggins and a great squad, some of the best Canadian basketball players in the country. You know, it wasn't easy. We didn't have any money. You know, it was a first-year program. So we're scrapping for food, right? And like, people don't know what that's like, being with 15 young men who we're all grinding. We all needed it. We needed the game, right? And so we loved each other, but we hated each other too, because we knew like we're all competing for the same thing. We're all competing for the same scholarships, the same playing time, the same attention, and the same food, right? Coach put food in the fridge. The biggest, baddest dudes would go to the fridge, take that food, put it under their mattress. Like, this was, people be on their some G shit. Like, it was, because there's no, like, imagine a world with no parents, no teacher. Like, there was nobody to come in and say, oh, you can't do that. I remember this dude Damal. He was like, he was only like 6'6", but he was like 320 or something. Like, this dude,
Damn.
He was a big dude. Like, you weren't messing with this dude.
Can you imagine?
You didn't want to mess with them all, dude. You didn't want to mess with that dude, right? Like, he was from the projects. You didn't want to mess with him. Like, and so he would just bully us, right? But like, at some point, it's like, well, I'm hungry, so I'm going at him. I don't care, right? It's like some Debo shit, right? Everybody's seen Friday, right? It was like, I'm going at him. I'm hungry, right? Like, but I think it's those sorts of environments and that kind of struggle that certain people will rise to the top, right? The cream will rise to the top. And if you can, a lot of people quit, right? A lot of people quit throughout that, call home and say, this is crazy over here, right? Heck, if we lost games, we wouldn't eat, right? And those sorts, like, and I'm sure some people have been through that, right? Where if you win, we'll go to McDonald's. If we don't win, we're going home.
Gee, we go home.
Not eating. You know what I mean? You guys figure it out. Yeah. Maybe there's some seriously, there'd be like canned corn or something like that in the, in the pantry. You guys would scrap over that. But it was just a phenomenal, and I say phenomenal, not in like a, not in the sense that it was luxurious, but it was phenomenal, the experience in terms of just what it created, like in terms of my mentality. Like, I was really, that put me through something that, like, by the end of that first year, because I knew that I didn't want to be there long term, but my goal was I'm not leaving until I get a scholarship. I'm gonna outlast all of you guys. I don't care. I'll fight for my food. I'll fight for my playing time. I'll fight for these scholarships. I'm not quitting. I'm not leaving. You're not going to beat me. This is mine. I want it more than you do. And that really meant a lot to me. And I drew on that experience for a long time. And I still think about the version of myself that got me through that. And I remind myself even now, right, as I work for the 6th largest law firm in the world, with everybody who grew up with a silver spoon, went to Yale, Harvard, Columbia, who never went through anything, even on the scale in the universe of what I've been through to get here and to get to the same place. It's a good reminder for me that even though I didn't come from privilege, and even though I didn't go to those schools that they went to, they haven't been to the school I've been through either, right? And that like, how are they going to compete with a dude who's been through what I've been through? And so I think that's something that I always try to remind myself of and remind the kids of too, is wear your struggles like badges of pride, right? With pride, because that's something that people can't take away from you, and people can't compete. They really can't compete with somebody who's been through serious adversity and struggle. There's just no way.
That's facts. So kind of building off of that, like you said, you went to college, right? So like, when did you know that you had the opportunity to kind of play D1 basketball? Like you said, you were there with Andrew Wiggins and Roy Russell. You were kind of fighting for your spot, like everyone fighting for scholarship. Like, when did it click that, yo, I got a legit chance to play D1? These schools really want me. Like, when did that click for you?
So I remember going down to Vegas the first time with Coach John and CYDC Elite. And I first of all, in Canada, I was, repping forever.
I got it.
In Canada, I was destroying, like, absolute, like, and my head was big because of, like, my head was out of control. I thought I was Michael Jordan, right? Because I was just not, I didn't see the competition in Canada. It wasn't really, and until I went down to Vegas for the first time in you know, I think it was the Super 64, whatever it was. It was a serious tournament, and I saw, and I got my ass handed to me, right? Like I absolutely, I got crushed. I don't know what I had. I maybe had 8 points or something. Like I felt inadequate. It was a wake up call, right? Like, and from that moment, I think, and we went home, and I didn't have a good tournament at all. Like that whole, and from then on, I was just playing scared. I was like, oh my God, you know, but from when I went home, when I went back, it was an eye opener to the level of play that was happening, right? Like I needed that. I needed to see how, like, the level of play that was happening, right? To be able to adjust my own game. And I think once I started to really internalize that, and then I went down to Spokane, I went down to Vegas again, and I had some success the next year, that I started to realize, and we went down to Houston, and then played a tournament there. It's really John Hegwood, man. Like he the way that he exposed me to high level basketball, he was tough, right? But he did it in a way that, you know, he'll crush you, and then he'll build you up, and then he'll give you the skills, and then he'll let you show what you can do. And I just think the way that he went about that for me, I started to realize that the next times that we would go down there and I'd start to have some success, I started to feel like I could do it. You know, and when I first went down to North Carolina, it was still really hard, right? Although I had come a long way, I was really athletic. I had a lot of raw talent, but I didn't, it was a different level of play, you know? It's hard to describe it, because when I think back, it's like, I can't watch it. I wish I had a video of the difference, right? To be able to, we could dissect it as coaches, right? And we could see, okay, here's what you were doing wrong. Your timing was off. You weren't hustling enough here. Your intensity wasn't right. You weren't being aggressive enough, right? Like we could dissect it, but I think just all in all, it was just the level of play and how badly people wanted it, right? And I had to adjust to that.
Mm-hmm. Tough. So, like, I guess my last question for you would be like, so after you kind of knew, like, you were in Vegas playing 64, playing with CY, kind of battling all these guys in Vegas, which was a huge tournament. The idea of 64 tournament is huge. So being at that level, like, and then starting to get some offers from like Kentucky, Arizona, Fresno State, like all these kind of big programs. Like, what was that recruiting process like for you?
It was awesome, man. I mean, once that happened, it was crazy, because there's so many, like, you think about the haters. This game is crazy because of the competition and how many haters there's going to be, and just the confidence that you have to have. Like, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like, you don't just go down to the States at, you know, as a sophomore in 10th grade and become a 5-star recruit or get Kansas or Kentucky to offer you. It that just doesn't really happen, you know. Yeah. And so for me, like, to be unknown, I went over, like, when I went down to the States for the first time, I was unknown. Nobody knew who I was, and in a situation where, like, nobody thinks you can do it. Not like, even coaches probably are like, there's a very low likelihood, right? But when you make a promise like that to yourself and you you start to see the fruits of your labor and start to get calls, like when Bill Self came to my practice, like it was crazy. Like
And
that was crazy to me. Like and you start to realize like I really can do this and I'm valuable. It was absolutely amazing, and it was worth everything. It was worth all the work. And obviously I went through struggles after that. I went through a career ending, pretty much neck injury and different things, but that doesn't take away from, like, I can still, with perspective, think about that moment of like signing with Kansas and what that meant, and the journey, and how much I thought about CY, and how much I thought about all my teammates and people who had helped me get there, people who, at Academy, who I grinded with day in and day out. Like it was all for them, man. Like I thought about, I thought about House League. Like I remember just thinking about everything that went into it. Hustling my ass to try to hop on buses and trains and whatever to get to practice, to be around a group of young men and women who were positive influences on my life, notwithstanding everything that was going on, right? And I think we can all, like CYDC, I know it was that place for me, and I know that it's been that place for a lot of other people, that a place where you can find peace and solace, and you don't have to have a perfect life. That doesn't, like, leave that stuff over there. When you show up at practice, when you show up at Academy, it doesn't matter what you're dealing with. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. You know what I mean? We're all gonna come grind together and sweat together and share our love of basketball together.
Facts. We always say at practice, man, family. It's a family.
Exactly.
Man. Facts.
Exactly.
All right. So yeah, just something that you just touched on that day, September 3rd, 2013. Just take us through the events of that day in your own words.
That was tough, man. It's like, for me, like, for context, I think it's important to know that a month, less than that, 2 weeks prior to that accident happening, I was with Steve Nash and Tristan Thompson and the whole Canadian Olympic team, right? The developmental Olympic team for the next Olympics. And like the amount of pride and joy that I had being selected to be part of that team. But to this day, there is not a single person who's on that team who's not playing high level professional ball somewhere now. Every single person on that team is playing high level ball somewhere. A lot of them are in the NBA. Probably 70% of them are in the NBA. The other 30%, people like Kevin Pangos and others are
just got picked up.
Level ball.
Pangos just got picked up.
Right. Oh, where is he at? Who do you get picked up by?
He signed to who he signed to? Is it Cleveland? Chicago?
Good. Finally,
one of them. Like he just got picked up. Like he signed like a
good
3-year contract.
Nice. Good. He deserved that a long time ago. He's a heck of
been killing
of a player.
He's been killing. Of
course he has. He can play basketball. He can play. But like my confidence level coming back to campus was through the roof. Like doing drills for weeks and having Steve Nash just like watching your footwork and pulling you over and saying, hey, lean your body this way. He was talking to me a lot about my body weight and where I was leaning and controlling my body weight better, which is like it's those details that like I'd never even thought about that. Like when I'm doing a spin move, when you're ripping through, like to think about the shift of he was like, you're leaning like slightly too much this way, and like you could get off balance if this happened. And like the way that he was analyzing my moves, like I had never thought of that. And so I came back to campus like ready to go. I was like, I'm going one and done, because Kansas fell through, but I chose Fresno because I was like, well, I'm going to be a big fish in a small pond, and I'm just going to one and done. There was other high majors I could have went to, but I chose Fresno because I was like, I just want to go play somewhere that like they'll just get me out. And he had just sent out Tristan, right? You know, that's Rodney Terry. He was the guy who recruited Tristan. So I was like, I'm just going to follow this dude. He'll take care of me. It'll all be good. And
Fresno also had Paul George.
And they had just recently sent out Paul George. Yeah. He had just went out and started to have some success. So, you know, you feel like you're in good hands. And, you know, you know how these college coaches are. Like they tell you what what you want to hear, and hopefully it's true, right? Like I don't think that they have any ill intent. They're playing their game, and they got to do what they got to do to recruit. But we're on our way to the casino, unfortunately. You know, it's like it's one of those things. It's not a sin to go to the casino, but it's obviously not a required thing to do at 9 p.m. on a weekday. You know what I mean? But you know, I was feeling good. I won, you know, $800-900 the night before playing blackjack, and to a college kid with no money, that was a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I was like, I'm feeling good. Like I'm gonna, you know, I'm trying to let this ride out, you know. And you know, we drove out there, and it's a one way, and it was a sketchy road, and we got hit by a drunk driver, man, like head on, and I got like ejected into the roof of the truck, and like right away I knew. I at first I was confused that I was alive, because I hit the roof like with crazy force, like force that like what shocked me, and it was hard for me to get in cars after that for a while, because we don't think about it, man. Like when you're driving like you don't think about the physics. You don't think about like, okay, like I weigh 200 pounds. I am in a 2-ton truck moving 80 miles per hour. There are other 2-ton trucks coming at me going the same right. Like you don't think about like what that means and what will happen if you are to hit one. Like think about the physics, and it only like it takes one time to feel the force of the physics involved, right? Like, and you'll never look at cars as you know, but like the force was crazy, and like just right away I knew that there was something wrong, and the ambulance came and they did their tests, and there's a lot of story to unpack there. Yeah. I was in the hospital for a month and a half. I lost 40% of my body weight. I had to learn how to walk again.
Wow.
They put me in this thing called traction, where as a potential alternative to surgery, they essentially screwed, you know, like a dumbbell, right? Yeah. Right. So the bar, like it holds weight. They screwed a dumbbell that like straps around your head, like a metal thing that straps around your head that has like things that you can put weights on. they screwed this into my skull, y'all. Like screwed it like with a drill.
Oh my God.
With a drill. And
That's
I was
crazy.
awake for this. Like,
wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
it felt for real. It felt like a horror movie, man. And like all this stuff is happening to you that like, and you're just thinking like, but this is my whole like you're thinking about your future. You're thinking about all the like the way that I saw myself, like the way like if I was to walk past a mirror, the way I saw my like I was a star, I was this, I was that, I was gonna do this, and like you like even with all the morphine and the drugs and everything happening, right away, I was terrified. Like I was right away terrified of what was gonna happen next. Terrified of whether I was going to be who I thought I was, right? Am I still me, right? And you know, it changed me in a lot of ways and made me think about the benefits of basketball and what I could pull out of basketball in a different way.
Right. And after dealing with such a traumatic injury, like, did you ever think that you'd hoop again?
I asked the doctor. I don't know if you guys have seen like Friday Night Lights, where Billy Miles asked the doctor, right? That scene means a lot more to me. I lived through that scene where you ask the doctor, you're like, Doc, like, am I going to be able to ball? Like, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. I'm in a lot of pain, but listen, am I going to be good? And he looked at me like, the look he gave me, it didn't matter what he said, because he gave me a look that told me really everything I needed to know, right? It was like, I don't know, man, right? Like, it was just like, that sucks that you asked me that, right? Like, it was like, I wish you never asked me that question because I don't know. And like, probably not the same way. Right. Like, and he kind of said that. He's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you'll be the same player essentially. Right. He's like, you might be able to play again. Right. But I don't know if, you know, it may not be quite the same. Right. Like he was about it. And you know, I didn't really pay him any mind in my conscious brain. My conscious brain was like, all right, I'm straight. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I just focused on gaining the weight back. So I hit the weight room like crazy. And I did. I gained all the weight back. And like if you saw before and after, like it was like losing 40% is a lot.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Like I didn't have enough muscle to sit up in bed, right? After 2.5 weeks, right? The muscle, the atrophy is so crazy. You can't even sit up in bed, right? Because you're not eating. Imagine not eating for three weeks, right? They're just pumping you full of just enough fluids and, you know, just enough sugar and salts and whatever electrolytes to keep your heart beating. But no food. You haven't moved a muscle. Like, it's amazing how fast it'll just all wilt away, you know? And so I was focused on building all that back. And I did build the muscle back, but I didn't ever feel the same in terms of just the security in my neck. Like, it impacted the way that I didn't play the same sort of, like, I was recklessly aggressive on the board, recklessly aggressive in attacking the like I didn't care. I like playing with, you can't play fear, you know. You can't play basketball with fear. And I didn't feel right, like I didn't just playing, I wasn't thinking, oh, but there was something that changed me from that accident. It didn't, because I wasn't secure in the same way that I was, right? So like it's self-preservation. Your body is saving your own life by not allowing you to do, what you used to do, or play in the same way you used to play, or put your body right in harm's way in the same way that you used to, right? Because you don't have the same stability up there that you used to. So it was terrifying, man. It was terrifying, but I just started to, for me, I thought a lot about my family. I thought a lot about how hard I worked, and I was really angry. I thought about my stepdad and people who had did me wrong, and I was like, I'm not failing. I'm not going out like this. Like, this isn't it for me, and I just started to think about, okay, so what can I do? Like, how can I still win? For me, I thought a lot about winning and losing. I thought a lot about how can I win? Because I don't want to be a loser. Even if I can play basketball anymore, how can I use that? This is all I had. Like, all I had was, I didn't have anything else. I didn't have a Dutch in my name, any opportunities. I didn't have a place to go. I didn't have a place to live other than the dorms at school. Like, I didn't know what I would do if it didn't work out. And so thinking about how I could figure it out and still succeed in, like, thought, hey, maybe if basketball doesn't work out, I'll go to law school, right? And so I started loading up credits and taking as many credits as possible, because I knew about the graduate transfer rule that allows you to transfer anywhere without penalty and get graduate school paid for, right, with scholarship money. So I just started focusing all my energy on it. Of course, I'm going to practice and doing what I can, but clearly my heart was on hedging, right, and making sure that I was going to have something
Fall back on.
Something to fall back on, something, a way to make a living for my family and carry on.
For sure. So I want to jump into where we're at right now. We're in 2021, and you're no longer playing basketball, but you mentioned earlier that you work for the 6th largest law firm. So, like, how was that transition for you, going from knowing that your career at one time was focusing on basketball and now you're a lawyer? How was that transition? And what advice do you have for anybody that might not know, like, what they're originally thinking, what they were meant to do, but going into a career that they can succeed in?
That's a great one, man. First, I'll just say that I think we all underestimate ourselves and what we can be based on what we've seen. And, like, for me, growing up, I had never seen a Black doctor. I had never seen a Black lawyer. It's just the way it was. Like, I didn't see that. That's not something that I saw. And it's easy to internalize that, right? And think, I haven't seen that. I haven't had a teammate who's done that. I've never heard of a basketball player who was in my situation who's done that, right? And therefore that's not realistic, or therefore that's not an option for me. And that was really the hardest part, was believing that I could do something that I didn't really have proof that I could do, right? I didn't have a proof. I didn't have an example. And that was really hard, because I felt, man, like, a lot of people laughed at me and thought I was crazy, and my own coaches laughed at me, dude. They laughed in my face. And it's not easy to deal with that and keep your confidence and continue to believe in yourself, even when people are laughing at you. Like it is like a lot of people talk about that, but they're over exaggerating. Like I really like they were laughing at me, you know? And like that was one of the hardest things that I had to overcome, because I had to keep on as those things happen and the doubt creeps in. Tell myself, no, I can do it. I can do it. I'm built for this, right? Like I can do it. It doesn't matter. And I think the other thing, like one of the biggest things that I had to kind of fix was I don't need to be the person right now who's the lawyer. I don't need to be that dude right now, right? All I need to do is commit myself to a way of living and a plan that will help me become and grow into that dude, right? Like, because at the time that I thought about doing this, I didn't know anything at all about becoming a lawyer. I was not the person who was capable of doing it because I didn't know anything, right?
For sure.
I had to learn along the way and kind of become that person. And, you know, and so that self-belief became just so important. But I think what I kind of carried with me is just the knowledge that that I can do it, and that my skill set and what I've overcome, and you know, the adversity that I've been able to maneuver and move through, like that's valuable, and that's something that now I have proof of, right?
Mhm.
I held on to it. I didn't have proof of it for a long time, but you know, if anybody out there listening and watching kind of needs to know and understand that, like, I'm somebody who got D's and F's in school in Canada, who was a partial qualifier, right? A person who the NCAA said couldn't play basketball right away because they weren't sure I was ready for college. And I'm now somebody who represents the largest banks and financial institutions in the country. Your bank is probably my client, and they come to me with their biggest problems.
Talk to the fella,
it's
man.
a
Let him know. Let him know, man. Let him know. Talk your shit. Yeah, man.
It's just cool, man. It's cool because of where I'm from and what I've been through, and I know that it's a place that a lot of people listening have been through, and probably you guys know what that looks like. And I just love that. And I love it because I look at my colleagues who I love them. Like, you know, I don't have a problem with them, but it's funny to me. Like, sometimes it's crazy. Like, I was just out for dinner right now, you know, at a work event, and you look around the table and the net worths around that table and the life that led them to that table. And for most of them, it's a paved road, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a paved road. They would have had to really make a mistake to fall, right, to not make it there.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of cool. Sometimes I sit around and I'm like, this is insane. Like, I'm just part of the crew. Like, you know, and I just want as many people as I can help understand that there are other ways to go pro. I'll just say that. You know, I have a lot of friends playing overseas. I know what that's like, and I'm not knocking it. Hoop dreams are serious, and if you are healthy and you can go for it, man. But I just think it's important for people to know there's other ways to go pro, and you can make a lot of money in law, in finance, and doing different things. You can make a lot of money doing that stuff, and you can use basketball to get there.
No doubt.
Proper. I think that's the best way to end this off. So
Dropping
we
gems,
got-
man. Appreciate you
got
for
to
sure.
the part of the
Appreciate you
podcast
guys.
where we get to promote our social medias, anything that we were working on. If there's anything that you think that you should let people know about, this is the best time to promote it. So Braeden, we're going to start with you.
I've been working on a book. It's not ready yet. It's not out yet, but I've been working on a book called Black Resilience, and it's a response to Black Lives Matter. And not really, let's not call it a response. I would say it's like the next step. It's like the next evolution, right? Because, Black Lives Matter for me was about raising awareness. It was like, hey, listen, like, you need to pay attention to this. Everybody, stop what you're doing. Look at this. Do you know that this is happening? Right? Like, this is crazy. This is happening. It's been happening. Right. And I think that it was great in that way. Like, there was a lot of people, a lot of white people, a lot of colleagues who came to me and they were like, I had no idea that this was happening, and it changed them. Right. But like, where do we go from there? Because here's the dynamic. Here's the problem with the focus on Black pain. As we obsess and focus and kind of, for the idea of Black pain and Black struggle, we forget to celebrate Black success and Black resilience and where we are now and where we're going and what we're capable of. I've sat in a lot of diversity and inclusion meetings where they sit you down, and they sat me down, and they're like, in a room, and there'll be 100 people there, and there's 2 Black people in the room, right? And they're telling the whole room about how disadvantaged Black people are. Black people can't do this. Black people have struggles in this area. We got to help them. They're struggling. And it's just not that's not my energy. And that's not Black energy. That's not it. We're not struggling. No, stop killing us in the streets. Stop trying to prevent us from succeeding, right? Like, it's not that we're struggling and we need extra help, right? Like, we're just trying to compete on a level playing field.
Level playing
right?
field,
Like, that's it. And
compete by the same rules, that's it.
And if it is a level playing field, watch out, right?
Yeah.
Like, little Billy's gonna need some help, because little Billy's not gonna have a job. You feel me? Like, it always bothered me. Like, and sometimes, like, some of my classmates be like, because I'll storm out. Like, I didn't feel, I hated it, because I was like, no, I want the biggest and baddest law firms and the biggest and baddest companies to want to hire me, because I'm a badass, because I'm a motherfucker. Not because of a diversity inclusion. No. You better hire him, because he's a motherfucker right there, right? Mm-hmm. And that's all, like, that's the person we want on our teams, right? Like, and that's who we are, right? And I think we just Black resilience is just about taking control of the perception of what Blackness is. It's not. We have been through pain. We are about more than our pain, right? We have 100%. Been through struggles. We're about a hell of a lot more than our struggles, right? Just the thing. And so I've been working on that project for a while. It's hard to place that in the publishing world because it's all white. But it's something I've been working on, and if I have to self-publish it and fund that project myself, then I'll do it. But be on the lookout for it.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
For sure. I'm definitely gonna get that. Definitely gonna cop that. That's dope.
Dwayne.
Just follow me on Instagram, Chaz_Tannenbaum.
Okay, Coach.
Yeah, my IG is real_deal_Francis. And you can catch me on the hardwood, man. Coaching, that's it. TYDC, State, I'm out here.
For sure. And you can follow me on Instagram at The Senator. Don't forget to check out the Not So Soft podcast. Comes out every Friday with myself, Nino Rockwell, and Kino the Great. Also, don't forget to follow the Chatroom Podcast on Instagram at the.chatroompod. If you have any questions for Braeden, if you have any questions for the host, if you have any takes that you want us to read on the next episode, make sure to email them to thechatroompod@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, rate, subscribe, and share the Chat Room Podcast wherever you listen or watch it. We drop it every week at the same time, audio and video the same day, every Tuesday. And we try to release it around 5 o'clock Mountain Time, which is about 7 o'clock Eastern Time, so you can get it right when you're about to go to work. We get you hooked up on your way to work. And yeah, that's been the Chat Room Podcast this episode. Braeden, we want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
We appreciate you, brother.
The story's been crazy.
I appreciate you guys. And I love the podcast. You guys do an awesome job, and I'm excited one day to meet everybody in person, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Likewise, thank you. Yeah,
for sure. And when that book is out,
we will get it.
Have you on to
100%
to talk about it and promote it even more once it's out, and we definitely will support and get it.
For sure.
I appreciate that so much.
Black resilience. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been the Chat Room Podcast, your favorite baller's favorite podcast, and we are out.
Peace.
Peace.